All right, guys. So, welcome to the diagnostic station. Today, we are going to be going over changes both in PTT as well as the introduction of the new diagnostic platform and check-in platform Workshop Supplies.
So briefly going over what changed, why the change was made, benefits both to the customer as well as the shop. So here we have some improvements in TechTool. And by improvements, I mean reading the ECUs on the truck. And if you've had a chance to hook up to these vehicles, you understand that these trucks are coming with anywhere from 32 to 40 different control units on these trucks. Partially because we're also following automotive as far as input-output modules on the trucks. And as you proceed through these courses, especially in electrical, you'll see that with 24 volts, you need less amperage to run, so smaller diameter wires. And with the increased number of ECUs, your runs on those wires are going to be shorter. So hopefully in doing so, making diagnostics a lot more easier, as well as a bit more simplified. Now, TechTool, up here on the screen, we do have new operations and tests that have been set for the newer trucks, whether it be the Volvo VN4 or the Mack Pioneer. Now, if you're familiar with PTT, you understand that it is a 30 gigabyte heavy application that is used across the board for Mack and Volvo. Whether it's boats, power gen, construction, over the road, it's utilized for every aspect within the company. And in order to institute new changes for the newer vehicles, to keep it within that 30 gigabytes, they remove some of the test or operations from there to incorporate the new test. That is not so with the new Workshop Toolbox. So with Workshop Toolbox, it is a cloud-based application. So being that it's cloud-based, they're no longer held to that 30 gigabyte standard. As long as their servers can do it, they can add as many tools or tests or calibrations as they want to without hampering the operation.
So what you're saying is, do we need to start using Workshop Toolbox more?
Currently, it is not fully deployed.
Okay, so it's still for service advisors as of right now?
As of right now, yes, sir. It is only for service advisors. Because within the apps up here, the only applications that we actually have deployed is your check-in tool, your active steering calibration, and your trip data.
Okay.
Everything else is still a work in progress and hopefully be deployed by end of 25, beginning of 26.
Okay.
Now, Workshop Toolbox is backwards compatible. So back all the way back to 2013. So when OBD first started with the 16 pin. Prior to that, PTT will still be sticking around for your older trucks. Now, I have no information as to when PTT will no longer be updated and kind of just held for the legacy equipment. I don't have that currently.
So in the future, Workshop Toolbox is going to take over for TechTool?
Absolutely, sir. In the future, Workshop Toolbox will be our way moving forward.
And it's going to be web-based, so you won't need to store all that information on your laptop?
Absolutely. And as we go through the applications, because I do have a few I can show with you or share with you, you're going to see how seamless it kind of switches in between apps, how quickly it gathers the information from the vehicle. Now, one of the key things I am looking forward to is updates. So with the introduction of a cloud-based application, if you're familiar with PTT, normally if there's an issue with the update, the service department is the first line of defense. They are the first ones to see it. You send in a concern report, you get in contact with tech support, and the issue is normally addressed within the next couple changes or updates. With Workshop Toolbox being completely cloud-based, Volvo and Mack should be seeing the issue before it gets deployed, if not at the same time the techs are seeing the issue. So in theory, that should make issues more manageable. They should be able to address them a lot quicker. As of yesterday morning, I had an update with Workshop Toolbox the moment I opened it. It took less than 3 minutes to download the update, and I had to just restart Workshop Toolbox. One of the other things I'm looking forward to is multi-factor identification. PTT, you have to do it every time you log in to PTT. You have to do a multi-factor identification. Workshop Toolbox is once a day. Once a day.
Let it idle all day long, you don't have to reapply.
Absolutely. Or you can close it out and reopen it, and it still holds on to that original multi-factor identification. So yes, current deployment, check-in tool, active steering calibration, and trip data. By the end of 2025, beginning of 26, it will be fully deployed. Our next one is your check-in tool. So J-Pro will not work on these newer trucks, whether it's the VN4 or the Pioneer. J-Pro will not connect up to these trucks. So you will have to utilize the check-in tool on Workshop Toolbox to check in the trucks. Your Vocom 2 Mini and your Vocom 2 Tough will work. Noregon connectors will work, but J-Pro itself will not.
So on the new truck, the J1939 is missing from the diagnostic connector. We're only using ISO or Ethernet.
Okay.
And J-Pro doesn't yet recognize the ISO data link. They're working on it. They may update it. I don't know the status of that. We've worked with them some. We've supported them, trying to help them. But for right now, it's only check-in tool or even tech tool for check-in.
The Mac-based stuff.
Exactly.
So here we have your check-in tool. Now at the top of Workshop Toolbox, you do have settings, applications, or your tools, as they're calling them. You do have the ability, I have to open up an app first. So if I open up the check-in tool, I do have the ability to create a concern report, contact help desk, and in the event they need the logs, we can transfer the logs over to the help desk. In the event, and I know it happens a lot at a dealership, customer calls in, says, hey, I have this code. What is going on with this? Well, similar to PTT, where you have the option of connecting offline and then editing your fault list to see the code, you can do a Control F on the main screen, and that'll bring up this right up underneath your communication unit. So up here are all the trucks I've previously connected to with Workshop Toolbox. Here, chassis ID or VIN number work, and it will allow you to offline connect up to a truck to look up your DTCs. And then wirelessly, I am hooked up to the, we'll say the new truck out in the shop since we're being recorded, but we are hooked up to the new truck. Oh, it's busy.
So the communications layer can only be supported by one app at a time.
Yep.
It's either Tech Tool or WTB. So this is what he's running into. The device is busy because Tech Tool's running it.
So similar to like doing PTT and ACOM, as long as the data port's being utilized by one of them, the communication will not work on the other one. You're going to have to close it out. So 45 seconds to a minute, it's pulling all the information off the truck. And it's just that simple, how quickly it actually loads up. So within your settings, you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you can put in your assist credentials, and it actually saves those assist credentials for your login. So then you have your send to assist button up at the top. So if you do not have an assist case already populated, it will populate an assist case. And if you do have one, it'll VIN match and transfer the information over to that assist case.
So it's very similar to J-Pro. It's still going to go back to the same place, but the data source is just different.
And then similar to PTT, you also have central systems and truck communication status. So up here, we have our DTCs, trip report, and DTC library. The nice part about having your DTCs as well as your DTC library integrated into the check-in tool, it is thus providing more information to your service advisor. And the more information they have as far as the issues going on with the truck, whether it's a DTC or a complaint, the more information they can then pass on to the customer or driver. So I can take whatever DTC we have, and I can fully expand them in here to give me my detailed status similar to PTT. So it's giving us our pending and confirmed true status on your codes. But I can take this code, come into my DTC library, do a search for that code, and give me a definition of the code and possible causes. So again, by making the customer and driver more informative on their vehicle, especially with these newer trucks, there's going to be lots of changes that the customer or driver is not going to be aware of. Because most drivers, right, a lot of them don't understand they're not intimately knowledgeable about their trucks. So the more information we have, we can pass it on to the customer. The more information they have, hopefully the more understanding they are that we are also learning a new system the same as them as far as diagnosing and repairing. And then each one of these boxes in here are called a widget. So if you're used to Windows 10, Windows 11, you can add widgets to your screen or for your phone. They're still the same. The moment you click on one, you're getting additional information on the unit. So this vehicle information, this screen is similar to what you have on PTT already. But if you scroll down, you get all the ECUs on the truck as well as part numbers and serial numbers for the ECUs. So half the information that a product information test would actually give to you is at the service advisor's fingertips. Now, if there's no communication with that ECU, it will show up in red. Now, currently, there's no way to filter or search through these ECUs, because remember, guys, we've got 32 to 40 of them now. So you're just going to have to scroll through and find the one you're looking for. Now, if it's bright red, it's going to be a dead giveaway. Then we have vehicle parameters. So fluid levels, average fuel economy, road speed limits, it's pretty much the same thing that JPro was reading out to you. It's giving you the same information. Now, road speed parameters are not editable from the check-in tool. In order to edit parameters currently, we have to go through PTT. When Workshop Toolbox is fully deployed, we'll be able to use the Software Center as well as the Bodybuilder tool to edit parameters. Now, throughout the course of the day, you guys are going to be learning all the changes we've done to the unit, whether it's internal in the engine, trans, to the 215 geared rear ends, to aerodynamics. All of it is boasting an average up to 10 miles to the gallon with these trucks. So for fleets, that's pennies on the dollar, but that's millions of dollars a year. So all I can say is use the correct oil, because the moment you put 1540 in these, fuel economy is going to go down. The tolerances in the engine are so minuscule. They're meant to run 5W30 full synthetic on these new trucks. So the Anthems came out, they were running 1030. Your new VN4 and Pioneer, 5W30. I know a lot of shops are running bulk 1540. So it's going to be a learning experience, because the customer has to know from the sales team that they're going to have to request that. And then the shop should be preemptively addressing that as well. Now, we also have the timeline. So your timeline, you need to think of it as your product history viewer. So anytime an assist case was opened up, anytime a repair was done, anytime the codes were cleared, it's going to show up in the timeline. As long as Central Systems has the information, it'll be populated in your timeline. Yep. As long as it is being cloud-based, it'll update automatically in Central Systems. As far as PTT, you have to finish your work. Yep. Or your uptime, and you're bouncing in between trucks and I forgot to finish my work on that truck. You no longer have to worry about that with a cloud-based platform. Now, down at the bottom, we have campaigns, warranty, and service contracts. So campaign, the status will change, but that is dependent upon warranty, how fast they actually submit the claim and it's updated in Central Systems. So when doing a warrantable repair, I would still check with warranty before proceeding forward. And then your warranty status, that'll give you start and finish date. So you're still utilizing VDA, UCHP, and VinView to get the itemized listing of what is covered under each individual one. But this is just a quick way of telling you whether or not it has warranty for a possible repair or not. Because I know you guys previously were possibly going to Assist, right? Assist would tell you basic warranty coverage. To get the itemized, you're still going to UCHP, VinView, or VDA.
But for the basic overview, like the alignment, It's only for 1 month.
Yeah.
And you can see it's already expired.
Workshop Toolbox is meant to streamline the process for the service department. At least that's the intention of it. So that whether it's information gathering or in the next screen, you're actually going to see hyperlinks. So access to information for the technician. It's just going to require a login once a day. That's going to be your login to Trucks Dealer Portal. And then the moment you click any of the other hyperlinks, it should bring you to that app within Truck Dealer Portal. Whether it's Impact, Product History Viewer, ESV, you're going to have that access to it from here. And then if the vehicle has a service contract, it's also going to provide that information. I know Mack and Volvo is pushing service contracts for lease and rental or fleets, right? If the information is available and it has a contract on it, it'll show up on your check-in tool as well. Well, the next one we're going to show is going to be the Software Center. So software download. Disregard the picture in the lower left. You cannot use a Vocom 2 Mini currently for programming. When the Vocom 2 Mini Plus comes out, you will be able to utilize that for programming. You have to use the blue 16-pin Vocom 2 connection for programming. It has the additional pins that will offer Ethernet programming within the connector. So if you're used to it, it started off with the black 16-pin connector, went to the green. Now if you're going to order it, both of those have been superseded to the blue connector. Currently, we have this version of Vocom 2 out. This is great for the check-in tool or diagnostics, not for programming. If we do have to program, we have to utilize this
Okay, with the Volcom.
with the Vocom 2. Now we do have updated versions of this coming out. We have the Vocom 2 Plus, so new chips, new wiring, new motherboards, meant for quicker and faster connections within this one. And then we also have the Vocom 2 Mini, this is a prototype, so it's not fully functional, but we do have a mini version that we can program with coming out soon. Now the Vocom 2 Plus Tough should be around September time.
Around September. We're going to burn through the stock for the Vocom 2 Toughs that we have now, around 250. We guesstimate around September, October, we'll transition over to the new Vocom 2 Tough Plus. And that will be a super session as well. This is the Vocom Mini. Yeah, they're both made by the same company. They're both Vocoms. This one's the Mini, the big one's the Tough. This has been around for a while. We're phasing these out. We'll transition to the new one, which includes programming for Ethernet.
Okay, so just
But if you have this, it still works.
Until September, Brian.
Absolutely, until it's got the update. Because currently, like Mr. Adams was saying, they're going to have to burn through their stock of the originals before the newer ones actually catch up. So within your software downloads, you have 3 options for programming on these trucks. Back out, we're going to go to the software. Where's my mouse? There it is. Software Center to actually deal with this. See how quick that just transfers over. Again, this is a prototype, but this is the speed we are expecting as far as transferring in between apps and toolbars in PTT. So it gives us this. We no longer have the load screen of death or the death wheel on it. And you don't know whether or not you have to reset PTT or the truck, or you're going to do all of it, or even try a different computer. It's meant to be this quick. Some of the information is shared in between the apps. Your vehicle specs are shared in between the apps. But if this is how fast it is, I'm totally hands down all for it. So if we come into vehicle updates, one of the 3 ways you have. So first off, we're going to see I have 15 available updates for this truck, right? It's brand new. It has not had the VMCU replacement on it. So there's a bunch. It hasn't even gone to the dealership for an intake. It has come directly here. So we have the option to do a complete software update where it's going to take all 15 of those. It's going to start the first update, and while it's doing the first update, it's going to preload the second, so on and so forth. So the updates are just continuous. Or you have the option similar to PTT where you can come through and individually select these for which ones you want to program. Or you have the third option, which is over-the-air programming. So previously that required a subscription service. Now, from what I've been told, as long as you have warranty on it, it is included in your cost. So with over the air, if you have done offsite programming in PTT, where you download the software to your computer and it locks out that module until you have programmed or send in the report, if over the air programming is available and it has already downloaded that software patch to your telematics gateway, it has locked out that control module. And it'll show you that in PTT or Workshop Toolbox. At that point, you have to go back into the dash.
Yep.
Since the patch of software is already in the vehicle, you have to program it from the dash, and then that will unlock the control unit. So same way as downloading the software. And if you haven't ran into it, you'd be befuddled as soon as you experience that. So those are your three options for programming. PTT is supporting this until Workshop Toolbox is fully deployed. From there, I don't have a time frame as to when PTT will eventually be phased out and just kept for the legacy equipment. So within here, we also have release notes. Now, if you're familiar with some of our engine competitors, as they do campaigns and updates, they offer release notes for what the campaigns and updates actually address and what codes might be affected. Mack and Volvo are currently starting to put out these release notes for the updates, which is great. Because how often do you get a customer coming in going, well, why do I need this update? What's it actually addressing? What is it fixing?
There is a CBR for release notes,
Yeah.
but this will show you each individually one for that truck.
Okay.
And Tech Tool does the same today.
You'd have to check the release notes. So if you're diagnosing, and it's in both Workshop Toolbox when fully deployed and PTT, so you just select release notes and it will tell you which update addresses what for this unit. So hopefully later on down the road, we have that fluidity in the diagnostics where it will tell you, hopefully that, it is in PTT currently.
It's there today on the new trucks, yeah.
Where is it at?
In programming, you'll have the service pack. You'll have a whole list of all the ECUs like we have here, but then on the right, you'll have the release notes.
Okay, that's a new add-on for the new, so, okay.
Yes,
That's
Just for
why,
the new trucks.
I think so, yeah. I haven't looked in the old trucks in a while. It must just be the new trucks.
Whether it's the VN4 or the Pioneer. Yeah, the Mack and Volvo are making leaps and bounds for the changes across the board for these new trucks, making sure the support is there. Like the Volvos came out to, the VN4 on the Volvo side came out to the market 3 months before we actually ran a CRR for the truck. Now the Mack Pioneer has been out for a full month. And we've finally gathered enough information to go ahead and run the Mack side now too. So the hyperlinks that I was talking to you guys earlier about, if you were to select on one of these, it'll open up the application in Trucks Dealer Portal. So it'll require a login once. And then once you've logged in, anytime you hit one of these hyperlinks while you're in Workshop Toolbox, it'll bring you to the application in Trucks Dealer Portal. So trying to streamline the access of information for the tech. And then you have parameter programming. Now, some of the operations that will be available in your software center later on down the road once it's deployed, and that are already currently available in trucks and PTT, are, say, for instance, side radar, your forward-looking cameras, all for calibrations. Now, you're still going to have to, say, for instance, the forward-looking radar, you're still going to have to manually calibrate it and then come in and you can do the reset.
so you won't have to go through Bendix anymore because it's integrated into the.
For the newer model trucks, you are correct, sir.
Everything goes through
Everything goes through PTT or Workshop Toolbox for the newer trucks. Minus the front active steering calibration, the other two apps that are out are primarily for the intake of the new truck.
But if you want to do a quick check with some codes, if you want to look up the
Yeah.
DTC library, it's quicker and easier than Tech Tool.
Okay, yeah, because it doesn't have to load the whole platform.
Yep.
Yep.
So, but you do have these options in here. Oh, there was the sensor yaw rate. Because the next one we are actually going to is front active steering, gentlemen. So if you're unfamiliar with the FAS, we offer a 12 and 24 volt system now. Under 7 miles an hour, it is steering assist. You can turn it with one finger. Above 30 miles an hour, it is lane keeping assist. Whether it's on the Volvo or the Mack side, it is lane keeping assist, as long as that option is within the truck. Now, if you're unfamiliar with front active steering, everything mechanically has to be set up. So anytime you do an alignment, anytime you mess with the steering wheel, replace the steering shaft, anytime you do anything to the steering system on the truck, you have to manually make sure everything is mechanically lined up, and then you can come in and do your calibration. And it's going to electronically calibrate everything on the steering side. Now, within this front active steering calibration app, you also have the ability to reset your steering angle sensor in here as well. Now, I know I just said 12 and 24 volts. You guys are going to learn about this in your next class, but 20% of the connectors on the truck have changed. 80% have remained the same. So that means we have 12 volt components that share the same connector with their 24 volt counterparts. So get with your parts guys, make sure communication, right? Communication is key. Whether it's sales to the customer or service to parts, let them know that you have new 24 volt components with different part numbers. Because, and I'm gonna call him Rain Man behind the parts counter, who's been there forever, knows exactly what the part number is and where it's located on the shelf. This is different because you're only going to get one shot to plug in a 12 volt component into a 24 volt setup before you can't get the smoke back into it. And it'll end up on a shelf in a box marked for shop use only. Ask me how. And it still won't work because you can't get the smoke back into it. So that is just something to be mindful of. New truck, new technology, new components, new part numbers. Why not change the connectors? Our counterparts in Sweden and overseas are already running 24 volt systems. So why would we switch connectors? Well,
So in the future, they're gonna go to 24 volt on all systems, what you're saying?
you're still going to have internal components inside the cab that are going to run off 12 volts.
Right.
That'll never go away. And your trailer is also 12 volts.
But everything in the truck, all ECUs are 24 volts. All ECUs, including the front active steering motor. And like he said, you can take the 12 volt motor off the truck or 24 off. You can put a 12 in place, the bolt's right on.
And it connects right up.
Yep. So you got to pay attention.
The mechanical coding of the connectors is the same as far as the internal keys. Same with your PM sensors, your NOx sensors. So this is all stuff to be mindful of with the introduction of these new units into the field.
They're gonna be marked one, like that motor is gonna have a 24 volt marking on it.
Yes, it does.
Near the plug.
Yes, well, I don't know about near the plug. It'll be stamped.
It's on the opposite side of the plug. It's towards the front, but it's got a sticker. Well, actually, the 12 volt one's stamped. I think the 24 one is considered standard. It may or may not be marked. But the 12 volt one is definitely marked 12 volts.
If I saw it right, the 24 volt that we have both on the Pioneer as well as the VN4 are both stamped 24 volts, along with brand new part numbers. If I recall, they started with 24.
And that's the key, like he's saying, you got to get your parts, got to look it up by the part number. Look it up by that chassis for the correct part number. Don't just grab one off the shelf.
Yeah, I was getting that box wrong, shipped wrong.
Good question. So if you look at the components, most components, like for the engine, like a solenoid or that throttle motor, it'll have a sticker on it that says 24 volts, so you'll know exactly which one it is.
But that's all about attention to detail, whether it be from the part side or the service side. Both are going to, until it becomes the norm, both are going to have to be cognizant in checking the components. Active steering calibration tool. Now on here, again, this is backwards compatible to 2013, so it doesn't matter if it's 12 or 24. What you're seeing up on the screen, one of my preconditions, is because it's registered as a 24 volt truck, it needs to see a minimum of 20 volts on the system or greater in order to do the calibration. Now, if it was a 12 volt setup, it'd probably say 10 to 12 volts as a precondition, it's going to have different preconditions than the 24 volt side. It's also have to be mindful of.
I'm not sure when Mac introduced it, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And Mac calls it the Mac Command Steer.
yeah.
So within calibration, there are, in the calibration tab, you have function parameter resets. Now, originally for your Anthems or your VNLs backwards, it was primarily used for anything that was replaced engine side or emission side that had to deal with the after treatment. Now, currently you have 3 new add-ons. You have 3 new add-ons into the truck. You have an oil level reset. You can also do the oil life reset from the dash. Say the customer didn't bring the truck to the dealership to actually have the oil reset done, they can reset it from the dash. And then you have battery replacement. So we have BPMUs, or battery power management system, in the truck. So we have ECUs that are constantly monitoring the state of charge and the capacities on these batteries. So when you replace one, you have to do a calibration reset on it so the system can relearn the state. And that's whether it's one battery or all of them, you have to do a reset on those. Now, the other reset, or the calibration reset that we have, is for your battery sensors. You have battery sensors, 1 per bank, or 1 per every 2.
There's up to three modules. Each one can have 2 sensors in it. So you actually got 6 sensors, 1 for each battery.
Oh boy. So if you're having an issue with one of these, code coming up, the issue might be that it's just out of calibration. So to do a calibration on the sensors, you have to go into function parameter reset to reset the calibration on them. So that's going to be your 3 add-ons. You do have additional tests added into PTT for these trucks, but we're only at 45 minutes and we lack the time to go through all of these. So we're hoping by the beginning of next year, as far as the Trucks Academy, we do have classes starting to roll out for these trucks for the service side. So now we get to go in tools. One of the tools that are not pictured up here is your J-hook engine removal tool. So if you've already had a chance to take a look at the truck, you've seen the massive cowl, right? Aerodynamics. You've seen the angle of the windshield. Now our J-hook is meant to work in cooperation with the engine lifting tools that your shops already have. All it's doing is shifting the center of gravity to get it away from the windshield and the cowl. Now currently there are no new tools for, say, camshaft lifting or rocker lifting. So just be mindful of where you're at on the truck while you're removing those. But to go along with that, all the changes you're going to see throughout the course of this day, aerodynamics is big key, right? So we have right up here to the right, we have our bumper and cowl. It's pretty much a go or no-go gauge for alignment on the bumper and cowl. So you can set your correct spacing. Now the tool to the left, we have the door striker gauge tool. The way it's proposed to work is you loosen up the bolts to where you still got drag on them for your hinges, open the door, insert the tool, and then slam it shut, and it self-centers the door. So as long as you have enough drag on those hinge bolts to keep that in place, you'll be able to cinch it down. Otherwise, you're doing it the old school way of aligning your door. The fun way, right? Now down at the bottom, you're seeing this little black tool. So we have new switches in the dash that are flexible smart switches. Smart means it's expensive, and because it's new, more than likely means it's out of stock. So with that being said, no Tecker drivers, no pocket pry bars are meant to be used as far as removing these, removing the smart switches from the dash. And I can pass this around. The tip, you'll notice is flexible, doesn't have a lot of meat to it. You can replace the tip in the tool. So along with these tools, we also have an ultracapacitor discharge tool. And you guys will be more intimately knowledgeable in the following class you guys go to, the electrical side. So anytime you have to, it is recommended to decommission the ultracapacitor. We have the discharge tool, which will take approximately 6 minutes. All it is big resistors in a metal case. That's why you see the heat fins along the side. to dissipate the heat. So it's robbing the energy, turning it into heat, and then dissipating it into the air. Now, once it's discharged, you have to jumper the two posts together. Because if you don't, it will naturally start to recharge itself by robbing the electrons from the atmosphere. How much? I was told it's enough to cause you to ink yourself. So guys, be mindful of this. All right, it's just a precautionary measure. Safety is key when working on these new trucks. Now, here are some of the breakout harnesses that are going to be available or coming to you as a dealership or a fleet with the new trucks. Now, I would like to ask, does everybody know how to access the Dealer Essential Tools from Trucks Dealer Portal?
Could you refresh our memory?
Absolutely, I can.
Are these gonna be automatically rolled out tools or no?
Yes,
So they're-
they are a part of the Dealer Essential program, Essential Tools. So the dealership will be getting the tools as well as an invoice with each shipment. So if you're already in Trucks Dealer Portal, you come up to the hamburger up at the top, you're going to select Service, Information, and Essential Tool Program. And then under Essential Tool Program, whether it's on the Volvo VN4 or the Mack Pioneer, you're going to have a specialty tools bulletin for that specific truck. Volvo side VN4, Mack side Pioneer. So if I was to select the Pioneer, here you have a PDF of all the new tools and part numbers coming out just for this truck. So you know what to expect. And as you're getting them in, you can check them off going, I've got 20 more tools I know are supposed to be coming. Now, if you want older, the Essential Tool Program will take you back all the way to 2010 for a master list. So you can open up the PDF, you can do a Control F, and you can search for whatever you're looking for.